Hello and welcome to another Daily Digest video. I am Merriam. Today I am playing a deck that Zac Elsik brought to the recent Modern Grand Prix in Las Vegas. He dubbed it Blue Steel, although I'm sure someone at Star City Games will come up with a much more bland name for it. It's a mono blue, heavy artifact, aggressive deck that's got some disruption with Judge's Familiar and Mausoleum Wanderer, so there's a lot going on here. Hopefully we get to see it do its thing. Opponent is on play and kept 7. And this hand does not seem particularly good because there's not a lot of payoff, but if we're pretty close to something with Sculptor and Chief Engineer. We've got a 1-drop. So but while we do need to draw something, if we do, this hand can be quite good. So I'm going to keep. See what our opponent is up to. And Arid Mesa. Could mean anything. Arid Mesa, go. That's more likely a control deck. Maybe burn if their turn one play is just bolt to the face, but does not change our play. Get this Judge's Familiar down. 5th land was not a good draw, but what are you going to do? See what shock land they get here. My guess would be a Hallowed Fountain. Okay, Sacred Foundry. Whatever floats your boat. Still could be Burn, still could be Jeskai. Pretty unlikely to be burned at this point. Okay, Stomping Ground. So they're like a Naya Chord deck of some kind. Well, we'll get in our 1-point attack. And given that our hand is relatively cheap, I don't given our hand is cheap and we don't have an artifact to convoke with this yet, I think I'd rather get the Sculptor down. So we'll play that. See what our opponent wants to do. They have a slow hand. Could be a Knight here on turn 3. Maybe just Renegade Rallier with another fetch to ramp. But usually usually no deck in Modern goes the first 2 turns without making a play, but especially green decks that rely on mana acceleration. I don't know what other deck they could be though. Be a Naya Company and combo deck with Vizier and Devoted Druid. Usually this version of the list has Magus the Moon, which is pretty bad against us. Maybe they're like an Eldritch Evolution version that has a pretty high curve. They're trying to get to Resto Kiki. Yeah, there is a Knight, and it is quite big. And another land. Well, this hand is not coming together. So we're going to have to hope these Judge's Familiars put in a lot of work. Only 7 turns to go. Grand Architect would be nice. At this point, we can cast something like a Wormcoil. We can cast a Ballista for a pretty high number. Yeah, a lot of good draws still left in the deck. Wormcoil would be great. I guess it's pretty vulnerable to Path, but basically anything we draw is pretty vulnerable to Path. So Smuggler's Copter, I wouldn't mind one of those. Another flyer, loot away some of these lands. Really, I'm just hoping for not a great play from my opponent. Something that gives me more time. Okay. They can accelerate to 5 here. Probably just a double spelling rather than playing a 5-drop. But I kind of like not getting attacked by this Knight. Okay, there's the Renegade Rallier, so they get to Return. Okay, they just want to return the forest. Could have returned a fetch. This probably saves them life though, which is the concern for them. Bolt Chief Engineer is not a big deal. Ugh, drawing another island is though. Well, when in doubt, get aggressive. Got 3 cards in hand. Okay. Next turn, we're absolutely going to need to draw something good. So this turn, I think we're going to take a pretty big chunk of damage. They'll play another threat, and we'll be facing down lethal. What could they be thinking about here? Maybe they have a double spell with by activating Knight, and they're weighing whether to attack with it. I think at this point, 6 mana in play. Attacking with Knight makes a lot of sense. Unless you want to get like a Gavany Township or a Kessig Wolfrun or something. But sure, I'll gladly just take 3. Voice of Resurgence, oh, 3rd mana. Thalia, Heretic Cathar, sure. So this is Knight's gonna be a 6/6. Maybe they can make it an 8/8 on instep. On tap, maybe make it a 9/9, and they're still 2 points short. What if they get Kessig Wolfrun? So they fetch, make it a 6/6, use it, make it a 7/7. Their Wolfrun pumps for minimum 3, so that's 16. So if they have a land in their hand, then Wolfrun represents lethal. Okay. Another land, not great, and it comes into play tapped because it's non-basic, but what are you going to do? Keep attacking. Pretty sure we're going to lose this race by several turns. This attack brings him to 9, fetch brings him to 8. Even if we draw an Architect, we only have 5 in the air. So that'll end up 3 short. If they don't have a Wolfrun, I might be able to runner with some chump blocks. Probably not anymore. They just get to trade here. Yep. Sure. Now we're going to need a lot of help. An unanswered Worm Coil might do it. No, not against the Thalia. Okay. Yeah, I don't know exactly how we're going to get out of this one. Okay, they have Township, not Wolfrun, but that makes these 4s. So 2 activations of Township and even 2 chump blocks on Knight won't do it. I guess I don't have to chump because this activation only gets them to 16, so sure. Yep. Maybe they have a bolt here to finish me off. Although if they did, they would have had to... Okay. Well, I should have played that land first to force me to chump, but I don't think it's going to matter. And another land. Well, yeah, hard to win when you draw 9 lands and 4 spells. Especially in a deck like this where the synergies coming together is really important. The individual pieces aren't great. Okay. What do we want to bring in? I like Dismember a lot. I like the Collar. I like Cage. And I kind of like Worm Coil. It's bad against Path, but it's very good against not Path. I don't really like these Thrones. I think they're one of the easiest cards to sideboard out. Um, Do I like anything else? I guess with Collar and Cage, I might want the Trinket Mage just to give myself greater access to them. The Harvester is interesting as well. The Needle is kind of interesting. Stops Knight of the Reliquary, can hit Fetchlands, can hit Gavany Township. Oh, and it hits Devoted Druid. Yeah, if I'm assuming they're a Druid deck too, I think I like the Needle as well. And that really does power up Trinket Mage quite nicely. Um, These two are also interesting, the Harvester and the Worm Coil. I don't think the Harvester is more for like burn. I don't think that one's going to do enough. The Worm Coil, though. What am I bringing out? Maybe the Lodestone Golem might be bringing out. They have a good amount of mana, good amount of cheap spells. They're not really double spelling outside of Collected Company, which isn't a true double spell. So I think maybe I'm just supposed to get rid of these Lodestone Golems. That leaves me at 60, so is this Worm Coil better than any of the other cards in my deck? I don't really want to cut any of the enablers. I think they're really important. So I'm just going to go with the one Worm Coil. If they didn't have Path in their deck, I'd 100% bring in the second, but it's such a risky proposition. So let's go with it like that. I will play first, and this is a much better hand. We get to play Wanderer into Copter, start Coptering, hopefully play Architect. Yeah, I like this. Untap blue to make 2 colorless for only artifact spells and activating their abilities. So once Blink Moth is active, I can tap a creature to use it to pump something, if that ever becomes relevant. But I think the game plan here is going to be to beat down in the air pretty quickly. I guess I should go turn on Wanderer, turn to Engineer, and then convoke out the Copter. Yeah, that's probably just better. We got everything in play then, so that's cool. And then we'll have, if we just find another blue source, the Architects will give us a pretty fast clock. If we can just find a Trinket Mage or Dismember, some piece of disruption to make sure we don't get raced, I think we'll be in good shape. What are they thinking about over there? They're still on 7. Kept their hand. We're in my upkeep. Okay. Mausoleum Wanderer. You're up. Probably a bird here. Another slow hand from them would be nice, but don't think I can ask for that too many times. Wooded Foothills. Yeah, okay, not a bird, but a noble. Same thing. Still their best opener. Oh, we did draw a Dismember. How nice. Well, I do like dismembering the noble. I actually would rather wait until I see if they have Devoted Druid or Knight, and passing up the opportunity to cast all these double spell here on turn 2. Not something I'm interested in, but that was a nice little opening. What do you got now? The fact that they fetched a basic forest suggests that their mana is in a good spot. Pathing Chief Engineer. Well, I'm pretty happy with that, with no more artifacts left. And I get to find another island for to cast Architect. So that is quite nice, actually. I assume they're playing in 2-drops, so they needed to path. Oh no, Stony Silence. But my Smuggler's Copters. Well, that's a tilt. They got basic planes. So they have to have another land in their hand, which means killing this Noble Hierarch is not a high priority. Yeah, Stony Silence is pretty good. And of course, I just drew a Walking Ballista. So, I guess we just get these Architects down. I don't think there's any point in playing Ballista on 1. I'm playing Ballista on 1 here. The 1/1 doesn't do a lot. Obviously, I can't activate it. I'd rather just wait and maybe just play a big Ballista that can be a little more impactful. So why don't I just mush for 2? Stony Silence. It doesn't affect too many cards in our deck, but the cards it does affect are really important in Copter and Ballista. I wonder if this deck would like an Soul Artifact. Wouldn't that be cool? Okay, there's the Knight, and there's, okay. So everything we expected. We'll dismember this Knight before they untap for sure. And I guess play another Architect. Yeah, I could play a 3/3 Walking Ballista here instead of attacking for 5. I don't think that's worth it. Attacking for 5, they go to 11. I can then activate this and make this blue. That'll be a 3/3. I have, yeah, I'll bring them to 11, and then I have 6 power in the air. So I think I want to just try to close this game out pretty quickly. I've got some bad draws because of the Stony Silence, and I've effectively, and I don't have an answer for their next big thing. If they have some big threat here. Path my thing. Sure. Interesting that they path the flyer instead of the Lord. Okay, they have a million paths. Well, we have a million islands to find, so. Sully Pride Mage. So my attack is bad, except with the Grand Architect at least. So I think this is the turn I get the Ballista down, and then they have to either kill Ballista or Blink Moth. So I can play Ethereum Sculptor. I have then 3 more islands left and a Blink Moth. That's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I can have this as a 4/4, but still with 1 mana floating. So I can play it as a 3/3 instead and get in an attack with Nexus, making it blue. So I get in a 2-point attack. So there's a 2 damage worth a counter on my Ballista. I think I'd rather have the Ballista be a 4/4 because that sort of forces the issue with Pride Mage, because I can trade for it in combat. So let's play. Is there an argument to not playing the Sculptor? So I have 6 mana here. That's still just a 4/4 Ballista. Yeah. Yeah, the Sculptor actually nets mana in this exchange because it taps for 2 and it makes it cost 1 less. So let's cast this. Tap. And let's do it again. This is a little awkward on Magic Online, but we'll figure it out. X is currently 2, 3, 4. I should have 1 mana floating, but it says X is currently 4 and doesn't show any mana floating, and it doesn't really matter. What the? This mana cost is reduced by 1. You may change the value of X. No, I don't want to do that. X is currently 4. So why don't I... Hold on. Man, this is going to take a while. 2, 3. And then... So X is currently 2. Perfect. Now let's do this. Now X is 4. Perfect. Done. X is 4, and we can make it a 5/5 now with Grand Architect. So we've got the biggest thing. They're down to 1 card. Hopefully it's not that good. It's 2 after they draw. And we can start clocking them in the air with Blink Moth. We can attack this Ballista. All of our things are pretty big compared to what they have, but it doesn't take much for them to regain parity or gain an advantage. Interesting. I'm definitely going to block. I assume it'll end with them killing the Ballista, but they can do that anyway, so. Target artifact creature becomes blue. So this will make them use a mana, which might be relevant. Hopefully they didn't really see this coming. Now I have a 5/5 blue walking Ballista. Yeah, this feels like that they didn't see it, and I've made their turn awkward now because they're a little light on mana. They thought they were just going to generate the trade without having to use mana. Ooh, killing my Ethereum Sculptor. I already have a ton of mana, though. That seems like a weird play. Do they have an answer for this Ballista? It's not. Oh, man. Renegade Rallier. Well, that's pretty good. Still, like, they kill Ballista. I get to attack with Ballista now. It's so big. That still feels like a misstep to me. So let's activate this. And I can make both of these blue and play Chief Engineer, so that's cool. So we get to attack for 7 here. This is a difficult attack for them to just take. Grand Architect putting in some work. Yeah, they just have to chump. Very awkward. So now we'll just target this one. There's no point in making this thing a 5/5. So we successfully deal with their Rallier. And pass the turn. Given that we're winning the race, this Pride Mage is going to have to kill Ballista, I would assume. And then hopefully our Blink Moth can just put in a bunch of work. Drawing a second Blink Moth would be real nice. Certainly not out of the woods yet. Hopefully they can draw a couple lands. That would definitely help us out. And they've only drawn 3 so far, so good number left in their deck. But always nerve-wracking anytime you're playing off the top. Definitely not blocking here. They have 2 lands in their graveyard, so Knights are only 4/4s. That's also a good sign. Well, I guess they have enough mana to Knight plus kill Ballista. Tarmogoyf. 4/5 Tarmogoyf. So yeah, this Ballista is going to die to Pride Mage. I have to assume. We have land, instant, creature, artifact. So there's no way we're putting another type in there unless my opponent wants to blow up their own Stony Silence, which I would gladly have them do. So I guess I just attack with Nexus and Ballista again. On one card. I wonder. I guess it's probably just something they couldn't double spell with because they need to use Pride Mage here. If they have another big creature, a knight or Tarmogoyf or anything good, that would be bad for us because we're a ways away from winning the race with the Nexus. But if they only have one thing, then it's tough for them to attack because I have 5 power now on the ground. So I actually do have lethal power in play. So it's hard for them to attack if they don't have things to block with. Chumping with the Noble would be bad for them. They're light on mana. It would cut them off with Collected Company. Okay, still attacking with the Goyf. I will take 5. 7 all. What do you got? Well, should have played that pre-combat. I guess I was. Oh, Goyf still 5/6 from the Noble. Sure. Yeah, 4/5 now on my turn. So they do not have lethal coming back with 2 Exalted triggers on the Goyf. And if they don't have anything, they have to chump block with one of the Nobles anyway. So I guess I die to a Bolt, but if they have a Bolt, they can just kill my Nexus, and I don't really have anything going. It doesn't feel like they would. Feels like they would have fired off a Bolt they had before. If they just drew one, so be it. But I think I have to make them chump block. Plus, if they don't double chump here, then they're going to be dead next turn to the Blink Moth alone. So, yeah, just want to end this game. They have the 4th path. Any removal spell I would think they would wait on. They could have even Mind Sensor here. That would be rough beats. Still wouldn't be lethal because they didn't get in the extra point last turn, so that's good. But I'm going for it. You gotta have something. I guess they could have a second Stony in their hand that they just didn't want me to know about. Okay, make my thing blue. So you gotta figure, like, if they have a spell in their hand they could have cast, they would have cast it over Noble. What spell could they have drawn that they can't cast? Some 5-drop? Maybe a Chord that they... Yeah, they would have had to not attack to use a Chord, which is probably not a great play. And they could only do it for 2. So what are they going to find? But no Bolt, please. Or I guess I died to a Wolf Run. I don't die to Township. Again, because they missed their point. I think we might be squeaking this one out. Yeah, this is the the long pause of a person who doesn't have it. What if they drew Avid Mind Sensor and they have a flying blocker? Then they need to hold the Goif back because they'd have to block Blink Moth and the 2 power things. They'd get to eat one of them, lose one to the Goif, go to 1. They'd trade Mind Sensor up here, and I'd have Architect plus 1 other creature to their Tarmogoyf with them at 1. So that is definitely a possibility. Oh man. Oh man, they drew Ghost Quarter. That's a thing. Okay. Well, so my Blink Moth is now pretty bad. This attack trades one of my 2 power things for Noble. But I think I'd rather just play this Ballista for a giant number. So I have 6 lands, 7 costs 1 less, so that's enough to get it to 4. So I can get it to 7 by tapping all of my stuff. Get it to 7 by tapping everything. If they have like a path, they can attack, but not really. Yeah, I think I just want to play it on 7. So, let's see if we can get this done correctly the first time. Tap this one. Tap this one. Tap this one. Make 6 manas. 7. Done. I have a 7/7. Yes, that should be enough to dominate here. They have to leave up the Ghost Quarter for my Blink Moth. They have to find another creature to not just be straight up dead. Yeah. There's no way they had Collected Company there, even though it kind of looks like they did, because they definitely would have played Ghost Quarter much earlier, and they definitely would have also played Collected Company. So I wasn't really afraid of that. I guess they could have courted for 3 and found Eternal Witness or a Knight, I guess, probably best. And then I would have been dead to a top deck removal spell. Maybe I should have played Ballista as a 6/6 and left another creature up. It's definitely possible. Attacking with Tarmogoyf. I'm going to block because I don't want to die to Lightning Bolt, which I know is in their deck. With them at 2, I don't really see the point in taking that damage. Yeah, they had the Bolt, so they get to kill Ballista, but now they're just dead to all my other stuff. Let's play this out, just in case they have some weird spell to cast. And I will force them to use the Ghost Quarter, again, just trying to cut them off of mana. Yeah, let's get another island, because we need more of those. So now they need a 2 mana spell, and they just needed the last path, I think. Yep. Got there, played around the Bolt. So, with them having Stony Silence, which really only shuts down Ballista and Copter, so I don't think it's that. It's not that worrisome of a card. They do have a bunch of paths, so I might want this Worm Coil. Maybe I'm supposed to like trim a Copter or something. Copter just seems so good if they don't have Stony Silence. So good. It's one of the best cards in the deck. Yeah. I think I'm just going to leave it as is. I think Ballista and Copter are just too good. I do have the Collar that it also shuts down. Maybe the Collar is going a little too far. But the Collar with the Ballista is so good. And in general, just getting my creatures to match up well against theirs. I think I'll just prioritize getting it equipped to something so I can at least get some value from it if they stony me. I'm fine resubmitting. The Cure is also another. The Cure is also another option. Ooh, opponent unfamiliar with our deck. Very good sign. Hair going crazy. Also a good sign. Nope. Yeah. Made it worse. Classic. Opponent down to 8 minutes on their clock. See what we can do here. Think about. I guess we were a little fortunate that their draw was fairly threat light. I mean, we had the Dismember to answer one too. We also just had a fast draw, being able to play Engineer into Copter, and then their immediate path, which they did to play around Mausoleum Wanderer, helped me out a lot. And if they had seen my hand, they probably wouldn't have blown the first path on Chief Engineer, which might have changed things. Because if they have another path for the second Grand Architect, suddenly my ballistas I can't cast for as big numbers. My attacks wouldn't have been as good. They would have had more life to play with. I think that could have definitely changed some things around. This hand looks quite good. We got Wanderer into Ballista, into Architect, and then we can hopefully beat down with some Nexuses. So, yeah, I'll keep. As long as you don't get Stonied again on turn 2. Wild Nakatl. Okay, so they're not a... I think they're just a regular Naya Company deck then. I guess Bolt signified that. And they just have Noble. They probably don't have birds in their deck. This makes me wish I'd actually cut some Ballistas. They're not as good against the deck as I thought. Okay, I am happy not to see a 2-drop here and just take the 3. It's a Noble. Oh, ooh, okay, another Nakatl. Actually, that's not good. So the Ballista is not really going to match up well against what my opponent's doing. So I think I'm just going to go Sculptor into Cage. And attack for 1. We're going to take 6 here. The Grand Architect, though, will get our Sculptor up to... Oh no, we go 2-3. I need 2 4s. Yeah, this is not going to be great. I guess once we play Architect, we'll be able to play a 3-3 Ballista. So that's actually pretty good. This draw might be a little bit too fast. Deck is definitely a little weak to Wild Nakatl. I can see Ratchet Bomb on the sideboard, even though you have 1-drops yourself. Yeah, no blocks. Take it all. It's not great. Well, we're definitely going to find an island. But now, Architect, I guess we can play Ballista for 2 and then pump it with Architect with the extra mana. So that's not the end of the world, but I was hoping to play it on 3 to block and then shoot down the other one and save myself some damage. But now I'm not going to be able to do that. Copter is an interesting one. It's actually quite good. We get to play Architect and then tap a creature to play Copter, and then we can crew it, activate Architect, have it up, and have a 4/4 blocker. Our opponent missed 3rd land drop. Hopefully they don't have a Bolt in their hand. If they have a Bolt, my Wanderer can protect it right now, so I should tap Wanderer to cast the Copter. So let's do that. And hope this at least buys us a turn. If it does, we're going to play a real big ballista next turn. So I feel pretty good if they don't have a removal spell here. Feeling less good now. I guess they can't have a bolt because I can make it a 4/4 in response. They need another path. But looks like that's what they have. Ooh. No, I get to block. Sweet, I get to loot. This is great. Yes, I would like to loot. So I think Master is great. So I'm gonna pitch the Nexus. Yeah. If they have a bolt, they can now respond to my trying to pump Copter by killing it. Or I can just force the trade. But I think the ability to eat a Nicodle is too attractive. Good. Oh wow. I think we just did it. We really did it. That's fine. Yeah, they could have just played one Pride Mage and attacked for 4, and then. But I don't think our opponent quite understands exactly what our deck is capable of, which is good news for us. Interesting. So now I can play Sculptor into Master with my lands, and then my Walking Ballista for 3-ish. Or I can just play Sculptor and then play a Ballista for 4 with a blue up in case I want to use Grand Architect. I kind of like. So I think I'm gonna kill the Pride Mage this turn regardless. So I want to contain the Wild Nicodle somehow. And I think that means playing. Okay, I think that means this. So Sculptor, Master, which is also really big. Then I'm going to cast this, tap that, tap that, tap that. Oh no, yeah, adjust to reduce, no. Or click OK. I want to click OK, but there's no OK there. You may click OK to choose the value for X. No, but ugh, this is annoying. Cast. Use this. Tap this. Use this. Tap this. Use this. Tap this. Now I'll slowly bring this down until there's 1 left. Okay, X is 3. Done. So now I have a bunch of ways to block this Wild Nicodle. By a bunch, I mean 2. I'm fine not getting an attack here. I'll just hold for 1 turn. I'm really far ahead on board. My stuff's all really big. I just want to make sure I don't get cheesed out somehow. Masters. So yeah, this is we're gonna have a big attack next turn. I like how this activates abilities too. In board stalls, you can pump your ballista pretty aggressively. Zac Elsik is kind of a genius. We have just on board with Architect Copter, make it blue, make Ballista blue, activate Ink Moth, um, or Blink Moth, I mean. I guess we make the Blink Moth blue instead of the Ballista, so that's already 8 in the air. Yeah, our attack is gigantic. Deck was really sweet. Normally a zoo deck like that, I think would not be a great matchup, but in game one we were able to deal with one threat and just race in the air, which is a viable plan. And in that game they obviously stumbled with only hitting the 2 lands, so we were able to very easily take advantage of that. But the deck accelerates. I was surprised by how much you accelerate into doing really powerful things. I mean, all the pieces are pretty individually weak. Judge's Familiar, Mausoleum Wanderer, Chief Engineer, but especially with Grand Architect, that card definitely accelerates you into some, dare I say, broken plays. So hope you enjoyed seeing that one, and you can come back and see me on Wednesday. Bye.